Good morning, children. Today we will again continue with the chapter Electoral Politics. Nomination of candidates. We noted above that in a democratic election, people should have a real choice. This happens only when there are almost no restrictions on anyone to contest an election. This is what our system provides. Anyone who can be a voter can also be a candidate in elections. It means that we all are free to contest in the election. We can stand as a candidate in the elections, even if we are voters. The only difference is that in order to be a candidate, the minimum age is 25 years, while it is only 18 years for being a voter. So you must remember this, that this is the basic difference. When can you become a candidate in the election and when can you become a voter? If you are 18 years of age, you are eligible to vote. You have become a voter. And if you are 25 years of age, then you can become a candidate and you can contest the election. There are some other restrictions on criminals, etc., but these apply in very extreme cases. Political parties nominate their candidates who get the party symbol and support. Party's nomination is often called party ticket. Every person who wishes to contest an election has to fulfill a nomination form and give some money as security deposit. All this, children, you must remember. Recently, a new system of declaration has been introduced on direction from the Supreme Court. Every candidate has to make a legal declaration giving full details of serious criminal cases pending against the candidate, details of the assets and liabilities of the candidate and his or her family, educational qualifications of the candidate. So these three things are now mandatory, and any person who is standing as a candidate in the election has to give these three details. This information has to be made public. That means everybody has the right to know these three details of the candidate standing in election. This information has to be made public. This provides an opportunity to the voters to make their decision on the basis of the information provided by the candidates. So the reason why this information has to be made public is to make the voters aware. The voters should know who is the candidate standing for election, whom are they going to vote for, is he a criminal, is he having any criminal background, is he having any assets or liabilities on himself or his family, how much qualification does he have, is he educated or is he illiterate. All these things are compulsorily, these things have to be made public. Now we shall start from the next heading, election campaign. The main purpose of election is to give people a chance to choose the representatives, the government and the policies they prefer. You must know this, you must underline this. What is the main purpose of election? The main purpose of election is to give the people a chance, an opportunity to choose their representatives, to choose their government and the policies that they prefer that the government should follow. Therefore, it is necessary to have a free and open discussion about who is a better representative, which party will make a better government, or what is a good policy. This is what happens during election campaigns. In our country, such campaigns take place for a 2-week period between the announcement of the final list of candidates and the date of polling. During this period, the candidates contact their voters, political leaders address election meetings, and political parties mobilize their supporters. They gather their supporters. This is also the period when newspapers and television news are full of election related stories and debates. You must have also observed that before the elections, a lot of coverage is there on television regarding the election campaigns. Different political parties carry out rallies. Their supporters carry out rallies. They do propaganda of their policies in order to attract the voters so as to convince them to vote for their party. But election campaign is not limited to these 2 weeks only. It is not that only for this 2 weeks period election campaign is held, otherwise it is totally stopped. It is not so. Political parties start preparing for elections months before they actually take place. So the process starts much earlier. In election campaigns, political parties try to focus public attention on some big issues. Why do they try to focus the attention of the public on big issues? So that they can tell the public that these are the problems which the country is facing, these are the issues, and my political party or our political party, if we are chosen by the people, then what are we going to do to overcome this problem? What are we going to do to solve this problem for the benefit of the people? In election campaigns, political parties try to focus public attention on some big issues. They want to attract the public so that they want to attract the public to that issue and get them to vote for their party on that basis. Just now I told the similar thing. Let us look back at some of the successful slogans given by different political parties in various elections. The Congress party led by Indira Gandhi gave the slogan of Garibi Hatao in the Lok Sabha elections of 1971. The party promised to reorient all the policies of the government to remove poverty from the country. Save Democracy was the slogan given by Janata Party in the next Lok Sabha election held in 1977. The party promised to undo the excesses committed during emergency and restore civil liberties. The left front used the slogan of land to the tiller in the West Bengal Assembly elections held in 1977. Land to the tiller, that means the person, the farmer who is tilling the land, who is doing hard work on the land will belong to him. Protect the self-respect of the Telugus was the slogan of N.T. Rama Rao, the leader of the Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh Assembly elections in 1983. So we have seen that such are the popular issues which are brought into focus, they are brought into limelight by political parties because they want to attract the attention of the voters through these issues, and they want to convince the voters that if they will be elected, if they are given the opportunity to run the government, run the country, then they are going to focus their attention on solving such problems. In a democracy, it is best to leave political parties and candidates free to conduct their election campaigns the way they want to. But it is sometimes necessary to regulate campaigns to ensure that every political party and candidate gets fair and equal chance to compete. According to our election law, no party or candidate can bribe or threaten voters, appeal to them in the name of caste or religion, use government resources for election campaign, and spend more than rupees 25 lakh in the constituency for a Lok Sabha election or rupees 10 lakh in a constituency in an assembly election. If they do so, their election can be rejected by the court even after they have been declared elected. In addition to the laws, all the political parties in our country have agreed to a model code of conduct for election campaigns. Model code of conduct means a particular code of conduct has been decided and the candidates have to abide by. According to this, no party or candidate can use any place of worship for election propaganda, use government vehicles, aircrafts and officials for elections, and once elections are announced, ministers shall not lay foundation stones of any project, take any big policy decisions or make any promises of providing public facilities. They can do all these things before the announcement of the elections, but once the elections are announced, once the dates are announced, then they can't do any of these things mentioned. They can't lay the foundation stones at any place, they can't take any big policy decisions, or they can't make promises for providing public facilities, because it will be considered as propaganda for getting votes. Polling and counting of votes. The final stage of an election is the day when the voters cast or poll their vote. That means they give their vote. That day is usually called the election day. Every person whose name is on the voters list can go to the nearby polling booth situated usually in a local school or a government office. Once the voter goes inside the booth, the election officials identify her, put a mark on her finger and allow her to cast her vote. An agent of each candidate is allowed to sit inside the polling booth and ensure that the voting takes place in a fair way. Earlier, the voters used to indicate who they wanted to vote for by putting a stamp on the ballot paper. A ballot paper is a sheet of paper on which the names of the contesting candidates along with the party name and symbols are listed. It's a big paper like a register sheet, and on one side is printed the names of the candidates, and on the other side of the paper, on the same paper, like you divide the paper into two halves, on left hand side of the sheet the names of the candidates are written, and on the right side the party name is written along with the symbol of the party. You will see all these things when you will go to vote yourself, but there is time. Nowadays, electronic voting machines (EVM) are used to record vote. Earlier stamp system was there, but now you just have to press the button and you have voted. The machine shows the names of the candidates and the party symbols. Independent candidates too have their own symbols allotted by election officials. All the voter has to do is to press the button against the name of the candidate she wants to give her vote. Once the polling is over, all the EVMs are sealed and taken to a secure place. A few days later, on a fixed date, all the EVMs from a constituency are opened and the votes secured by each candidate are counted. The agents of all candidates are present there to ensure that the counting is done properly. The candidate who secures the highest number of votes from a constituency is declared elected. In a general election, usually the counting of votes in all the constituencies takes place at the same day. On the same day, at the same time, on the same day. Television channels, radio and newspapers report this event. This is a very great day, children. It's a very important day. From morning the counting begins and continues till evening, and all the viewers, all people you must have seen in your homes also, all family members, all people sit in front of the television to see which party is winning, which party is losing, who is getting more votes, who is getting lesser. Within a few hours of counting, all the results are declared and it becomes clear as to who will form the next government. What makes elections in India democratic? Why do we call Indian elections democratic? Let us see. We get to read a lot about unfair practices in elections. Newspapers and television reports often refer to such allegations. Most of these reports are about the following: inclusion of false names and exclusion of genuine names in voters list. These things are very common. Such kind of illegal practices are very common during elections. Inclusion of false names and exclusion of genuine names in the voters list. Misuse of government facilities and officials by the ruling party. Excessive use of money by rich candidates and big parties. Intimidation of voters and rigging on the polling day. Many of these reports are correct. We feel unhappy when we read or see such reports. But fortunately, they are not on such a scale so as to defeat the very purpose of elections. That means, although in some places such kind of illegal practices are conducted, but they are in a very small number and it does not defeat the purpose of elections. This becomes clear if we ask a basic question: can a party win an election and come to power not because it has popular support but through electoral malpractices? Malpractices means illegal practices, wrong practices. This is a vital question. Let us carefully examine various aspects of this question. Independent Election Commission. One simple way of checking whether elections are fair or not is to look at who conducts the elections. Are they independent of the government? Or can the government or the ruling party influence or pressurize them? Do they have enough powers to be able to conduct free and fair elections? Do they actually use these powers? The answer to all these questions is quite positive for our country. In our country, elections are conducted by an independent and very powerful election commission. This is a very important piece of information, children. You must underline and learn this. Elections in our country are conducted by an independent body and a very powerful body which is known as Election Commission. It enjoys the same kind of independence that the judiciary enjoys. Keep on learning all these things. In the Election Commission is independent. Like in India, the judiciary is independent. The judiciary can take decisions without being dictated terms by the legislature or the executive. Similarly, the Election Commission is also a totally independent body like the judiciary. The Chief Election Commissioner is appointed by the President of India. Another very important line. The Chief Election Commissioner is appointed by the President of India. But once appointed, the Chief Election Commissioner is not answerable to the President or the government. That means he has such a powerful post. He has so much of authority. He has so many powers that whatever decisions are taken by the Chief Election Commissioner, he is not answerable to the President or to the government. He does not have to give reasons why he has taken such and such decisions. Neither he has to give any reasons or any answers to the President nor to the government. He is solely independent. He can take any kind of decisions which are necessary for free and fair elections in the country. Even if the ruling party or the government does not like what the commission does, it is virtually impossible for it to remove the Chief Election Commissioner, CEC, Chief Election Commissioner. That means his post is such a powerful post that even if the ruling party or the government does not like the decisions taken by the Chief Election Commissioner or the Election Commission, but they cannot remove the Chief Election Commissioner from office. Very few election commissions in the world have such wide-ranging powers as the Election Commission of India. Now we will see what does the Election Commission do, or what are the powers of the Election Commission. Election Commission takes decisions on every aspect of conduct and control of elections, from the announcement of elections to the declaration of results. From the date when the elections are announced till the date when the results of the elections will be declared, each and everything is under the control of the Election Commission. Whatever is related to the elections in the country, whatever aspect is related to the elections in the country, they are being monitored, they are being controlled by the Election Commission. It implements the code of conduct and punishes any candidate or party that violates it. Just now on the previous page, we have read 3 codes of conduct. So the Election Commission sees to it that the code of conduct is implemented strictly, and if any candidate or any party tries to violate it, then they are punished, action is taken against them. During the election period, the Election Commission can order the government to follow some guidelines to prevent use and misuse of governmental power to enhance its chances to win elections, or to transfer some government officials. All these powers are in the hands of the Election Commission. It can ask the government to follow some specific guidelines laid down by the Election Commission. It can ask the prevent of use or misuse of governmental power. If they want to use some governmental power to win elections, then the Election Commission can ask not to use such powers, or to transfer some governmental officials. Some governmental officials can be transferred from one place to another place during the time of elections. When on election duty, government officers work under the control of the Election Commission and not the government. Even if they are government employees, but when they are given election duty, when the government officials are given election duty, then till the time they are doing election duty, they are under the guidance, or you can say under the control of the Election Commission, not under the control of the government. At that time, they are doing their duty for the Election Commission. They are not doing their duty for the government. Now children, we will stop here for today, and in our next class, we will continue from the next paragraph in the last 15 years or so. Thank you children.